All right, welcome back to another episode of Hidden Maine. I'm Dave, this is Kevin. This week we're going to take a little different focus. We've been on Bigfoot for a while, Sasquatch, all that business. We might even get into discussion of it today again. But about a week ago, I saw something that changed my perspective on UFOs and UAPs. I saw a metallic object go right across the sky at incredible speeds, and I went from being skeptical to a knower immediately. And so Kevin and I are going to just drop it wide open, especially with the congressional hearings we had last week, on 11/13, where all kinds of Department of Defense, intelligence agents came out and basically told us there's all kinds of crafts out there that are legitimately going around. They don't know what they are. They don't know where they're from. They have a lot of hypotheses, a lot of theories on where this could be coming from. But I just wanted to lay that out for everybody.
What did you see?
Well, I was out. I had a cord of wood that I needed to stack and get off a trailer. And I was doing it by myself and working real hard. And I happened to notice, I think it was November 9th, and, I looked up for a second.
What time was it about?
Oh, I'd say 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Oh, daylight, blue sky.
Okay.
The sun's not on me or in my vision. It's behind the house. I'm behind the house. Mm-hmm. I have a good field of vision of the sky. What caught my eye was, those white fluffy seeds that float. Yeah. I saw one of those floating, and I said to myself, it's way too late in the year to see one of those, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just trending warmer right now. Okay, so I'm watching this thing, and as I'm staring in the sky, and I have 2013 vision from a distance, like my long distance is amazing. Eagle eyes, always have, yeah. And so I'm looking, and this spherical metallic object raced across the sky in about a second and a half. 10 times faster than any aircraft I've ever seen.
So
and it was,
how far was the sky opened up that you were able to see? How many miles do you think?
Oh gosh, I couldn't. I would guess 2/3 of the sky I was able to see. There was a wood line behind me.
Okay.
And I just was up already following this thing, and then it just went right across.
Did it have sound?
No sound, nothing. If I had to guess, I already thought about it. It was somewhere between like 20 and 30,000 feet.
Okay.
Roughly the size of a jetliner, but spherical and metallic.
Okay.
So
maybe 100 feet, 75 feet.
There's no.
You kind of have the tree line that you can kind of.
There's no at that distance and at that height. There's no real point of reference. I know what I saw.
Yep.
And afterward, I just giggled to myself, and I said, God, did I just see what I think I saw? Because that's crazy.
It's mind-boggling.
Yes.
Because when you see one of those, it just opens your mind up to the fact that there's things out there that we have no clue.
Absolutely.
Until we see it.
Absolutely. And that just, it didn't dance, it didn't do anything. It just, at speeds that are incomprehensible, went across the sky, but I was able to see it clearly enough that it was a metallic spherical object. And lo and behold, 5 days later, there's a congressional hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. Mm-hmm. So here I am. Wow. The timing of it all is just blows my mind. Because honestly, I was a skeptic to any of that stuff, to UFOs, to any of this stuff. There's plenty of things you see in the sky and you can't explain, lights moving around at nighttime and stuff. And I always just figured there was, either a geologic or some type of explanation. But what I saw was physical, and it was going at speeds that defy logic. There's nothing.
Yeah, defies physics.
I mean, anything. I used to live by the Naval Air Base in Brunswick.
Okay.
For 4 years, I lived in Bath, and I'd drive to work. And, once in a while, F-15 or F-16, whatever they had there would take off.
Yep.
I mean, like...
You would hear that from
miles away.
Yeah.
And you could see how fast they were moving. Mm-hmm. And they had nothing on this object. This object was...
Yeah. Beyond our comprehension of technology.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, when I had my house in Augusta, I remember sitting out in the hot tub and seeing, Elon Musk's Starlink go by, the whole thing.
Yes.
And so I know what satellites look like. Exactly. I know what inexplainable. I cannot explain this.
I knew somebody that's out in the Starks area that he's like, oh, you should have seen. There were these UFOs, these small ones coming out of a mothership. So I pulled up a picture that I had taken of the Starlink. And I said, does it look like that? He said, yeah. You got pictures of it too? I said, the Starlink. Yeah. I said, so when you see that.
Right. And I can guarantee this was not Starlink. And it was moving much faster than Starlink moves. So it blew my mind.
And you really don't see Starlink in the day.
And this is, and the most ironic thing here is I've wanted to see Bigfoot or Sasquatch my whole life. I'm almost 50. I've wanted to see it forever. And I saw a UAP, like clearly saw a UAP.
Yeah.
I saw something amazing.
And there's a lot of accounts just in this area of Maine that, they're in pretty close proximity. And they say that in the United States that Maine is one of the most popular for UFOs. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And it's been such a long history in Maine. And, like 1981, out in Starks, there was this guy, his name was Bud Hensby, and his wife was Helen. And he had been a police officer in the Somerset Sheriff's Department for 23 years. And his wife was a selectman that was in Madison. And one night they decided that they were gonna go to Farmington, which is about 20 miles away, going through Starks. Starks has a population probably about 500.
Yeah.
There. So they went there and they said on the way that they were going to Farmington that they saw like this orangish glow kind of dancing around, and then it disappeared. So they really didn't think much of it because, the people that live up there, they're not thinking about UFOs.
No.
And so
Going to work.
They went to Farmington, and while they were in Farmington eating,
Sure.
There were some witnesses in Starks that witnessed this. They said it looked like two crescent moons that were crossed with each other.
That's amazing.
And he said there was a orange glow that was inside of this thing. And so this older fella, he was out hunting turkey, and he saw this thing, and it came towards him, and he said it was no more than 60 feet above him. And then he saw these red light and green light, that this red light shined a laser right down to him, and it blinded his eyes,
Wow.
So he went with his dog to get in the truck and took off down the road, and this thing was following him. And then he went to a friend's house. Sure. And there was like 4 or 5 friends that were there, and they thought he was crazy when he came in and said, "You guys got to come look at this." Came outside, and they saw that same the crescents. So then Bud and Helen, they were coming back from Farmington.
Sure.
And they were coming up a hill, and then this UAP appeared. And so as Bud's going up the hill, the UAP shined a laser that's how they explained it. It was like a laser
Wow.
into their eyes through the windshield, and it blinded them. So he stopped, and he said the UAP would stop. And then, so he'd try to go some more, and then that beam would come back down.
Wow.
So they decided, they backed up, turned around, and went a different way home to Madison. And what's extremely interesting and tragic is that same night, there was a lady that was coming home from work. It was about 11:30 at night. And where she was probably about 7 miles from Starks, where all this activity had been happening.
Wow.
Around the same time.
Jeez.
And so she ended up going off the road. And what they think happened was that this laser, that UAP, was putting that laser on her.
Yep.
And so the reason I say that is because when they found her the next day,
Yeah.
they say that she was doing 90 miles an hour.
Jeez.
She had her visor down. She had her sunglasses on. And this is 11:30 at night. So to me, it seems like it was the same UAP,
Right.
but she wasn't stopping. She was trying to get away from it, and it didn't happen. And it probably shined a laser in, just like it did with the other encounters. And they, she went 140 feet off from the road, so they had to, they found her the next day. But that's what they said. The visor was down. She had her sunglasses on. And then she just failed to negotiate a curve, which, if that beam's shining on her and she's blinded,
Right.
she won't see that corner.
Or if she was terrified and trying to speed away
Absolutely.
from something.
Trying
that
to
was
get away
following
from it.
her. That to me
Yeah.
is crazy.
So they had a lot of
Wow.
newspaper articles. They were on TV, on the news. They got interviewed, and there was researchers that were getting a hold of them. And finally, Bud and his wife are like, no more. We don't want any more interviews. We told you what we had to say,
Sure.
and that's the end of it. So it's not like they were saying this stuff for fame and fortune.
Right.
This was something that happened.
Wow. That's crazy. It's just unexplainable events right here in Hidden Maine. It's
Yeah, and you could probably go on and on. Going to places where there's not a lot of artificial light.
And I've talked to so many people, and it's funny, in the Bigfoot community, I've talked to so many people that have seen UFOs, UAPs, whatever. They've seen unexplainable lights in the sky moving and darting around and doing things that, according to the law of physics and aircraft as we know them, shouldn't be able to do that. And so it's really interesting to me now that I've actually seen something that
Yes.
that I can't explain. It really kind of opened Pandora's box for me.
Absolutely.
I want to look into
Yep.
this. I want to get to the bottom of this. I mean, I've been looking into Bigfoot for a while now. I've accumulated a lot of information on it. I'm able to talk in depth.
We found quite a bit of evidence,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it's out there. I mean, because like over at my house,
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of artificial light. It's a small town.
Right.
And so you can really see it's celestial. And it's an open field, so I get a lot better vision of it. And you can see satellites going by. You can see Starlink go by. If you know what the timing is, you can actually see the space station go by. And so there's a lot of things in the air that I realize what it's all about. But there's been a few times that we've had lights just going back and forth. They go up, just, no rhyme or reason which way they're going. And I actually brought my wife out. I said,
Huh?
"Do you see that?" I said, "What do you think about that?" because she's, you know, never believed in aliens or UFOs and stuff. So she's like, I can't explain that.
Now, how many times have you been out looking, you know, for Bigfoot or evidence of Bigfoot in the pitch dark at nighttime, and you've seen a UFO, UAP, you know, something unidentified whipping across the sky?
Well, when I had that encounter with the flowers,
Yeah.
when I got back to the house that night, there was a UAP. There was just kind of coming towards me, going over the house, coming back in front of the field. So I don't know if there's a connection to it or something, because you hear a lot of people that talk about that.
Sure.
That's like, there was another encounter where it was in September of this year, and the Northern Lights were out. So my wife and I, we went down to the boat landing because you had a nice view with the water and the reflections and stuff. And later on, we were looking at our pictures, and across the sky was a black contrail. I have some pictures that shows just before and just after, and it happened so fast. And so we don't know what it was. It was probably, I'd say 3,000, 3,500 feet off the ground.
I want to get into a few things about Immaculate Constellation, and I hope that doesn't put me on some government list that I've said that. Basically, we had a retired admiral from the U.S. Navy in the 11/13/2024 congressional hearing. I'm going to butcher his name, but Tim Gallaudet.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. We'll go with that. It's close enough.
Give us the call if it's wrong.
I'll put it on the screen. You know.
Put it under comment.
Right. Anyways, he was quoted saying, "Confirmation that UAPs are interacting with humanity came from me in January of 2015." So that's an admiral in the U.S. Navy that's saying they've had UAPs interacting with them since 2015. If you go here, I got these out of order. Let's see here. Now, Luis Elizondo, he was in the Department of Defense.
He was the head of the task force for the UAPs.
Yes. Yes. And he said, "Let me be clear. UAP are real." That is his quote. "Let me be clear. UAP are real." And then he went on, "Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries." So that's that's freaky deaky right there. I'll save some of this other stuff for later in the conversation because there's two big pieces right there to discuss.
Well, and it's almost what's happening is they're starting to condition us, because it's
going to come out.
It's
going to come out.
And I think that they might be doing it in an easy fashion, so it's not just dumped right out there.
Well, in that, I mean, that's an intelligence officer, you know, from the Department of Defense.
Absolutely.
That's saying that they're absolutely real, and that we are in possession of UAPs.
Yeah.
And our adversaries are too. Now that's scary. If China has UAPs, if Russia has UAPs,
and they reverse engineer it.
And they're reverse engineering it. So what I saw the other day might not be alien. It might not be interdimensional. It might be something that, you know, was reverse engineered either by our government or by another government.
Absolutely. And the propulsion systems.
Oh my God.
Did you realize that just recently they came out and they said they have a propellant-less engine where you need no propellant whatsoever. What they do is they use static electricity that's around it. And that's what gives it the power, so that when they go to outer space, they don't have to look for any fuel.
Right, it's there.
That static is always there in the universe.
Yeah, it blows my mind. It just blows my mind that this is occurring, and that now
In our time.
and
In
there's
our time.
in our time, and that there seems to be an intergovernmental race. You know, like how they used to compete about the nuclear thing. You know, we had the Cold War and all that business.
Yep.
Now it's UAP technology.
Yep.
We're going to advanced technologies and a race between nations right now, and it's.
I heard, okay, this is just something I heard on a documentary.
Sure.
But, and, you know, it was in the news kind of in the back pages. And Iran, apparently we were shooting a missile, or someone was shooting a missile. That, no, it was a drone that they had. And they took it out of the sky without damaging it.
Wow.
Somehow they were able to take control of that and bring it down without any damage.
See, that's mind-blowing right there.
And then if you start getting into the Einstein-Rosen bridge, and you think about the wormholes, and excuse me,
We're doing a lot of talking.
there's a place out west that they've actually been documenting and getting closer to the fact that there is wormholes, that there are wormholes, and they're starting to map one out. So now if you have these wormholes all over the world, and you get a map to all these wormholes, it would change everything as far as the military, because they could have all these weapons right here. They don't have to go across the ocean to get where they want to go.
Right.
They just go from this wormhole,
And
boom, instantaneously, all of that's there.
That might explain why the UAPs, I mean, by and large, they're going in and out of the ocean, is what people are saying. In and out of the ocean. So imagine if these wormholes are down in the ocean.
Frictionless.
Yes, frictionless, seeming to function without any adherence to gravity.
Right. Hey, did you notice something? We have our jackets on now.
I know, it
It
just
kind
like
of went
that.
fast. It was like a flash. You know, we were gone for like 4 hours, right?
Oh yeah. Gotta make sure my microphone's not getting into the jacket. All right. So another thing that was interesting, and I'll play a clip of this. Intelligence officer, government official, talked about the fact that they have biologics in their possession. So that means non-human biologics is what they said. So that's even crazier.
It really is.
Was anything described as that we have possession of bodies?
Yes.
We have is it multiple types of creatures, or?
Sir, I couldn't answer that. I can tell you anecdotally that it was discussed quite a bit when I was at the Pentagon. The problem is the supposed collection of these biological samples occurred before my time, in fact, before I was even born.
And was this part of the Lockheed Martin discussion, or was this the biologics is a completely separate?
Separate yet related.
Okay. Has anyone made contact?
Sir, I'm sorry, could you specify?
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word, because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into U.S. airspace, we scramble 2 F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability. I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace. And they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
Is the United States government and our contractors, are they pulling technology from this? They're reverse engineering this?
Sir, as I previously stated, and please forgive me, I am not authorized to discuss specifics about crash retrievals. I signed documentation with the U.S. government. What I can say was, after a very thorough review process by the Pentagon, what I wrote about, and that was my limit, unfortunately, that I was given.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Which brings us back to Immaculate Constellation. Now, Immaculate Constellation, Schellenberger's public news site recently published a story alleging that the U.S. government is operating an active and highly secretive, unacknowledged special access program, intelligence operation through the Department of Defense called Immaculate Constellation. So it kind of plays into what you were just saying, that potentially our government already is all over this. And I believe they are, honestly. I mean, these are smart people, and they just want to protect the interest of the public, because we don't need people panicking and freaking out or, stop going to work and stop making their stuff. I mean, if there are UAPs, UFOs, whatever, that have been, either interdimensionally or from other planets or even from our own.
Different galaxies.
Right. They've been doing this for thousands of years, all along. So things aren't going to change. We don't need to, jump off the train yet.
And you think about this, it's like, in our lifetimes, I mean, since the 70s, it's the technology has just gone in leaps and bounds. Because you think about when we had the vinyl records. All of a sudden, in the early 70s, late 60s, we had the 8-track tape.
Right.
And then it progressed to the cassette tape.
Right.
To, different devices,
right.
And now the phones.
And now it's just on my phone. Not only can I record almost a whole movie, I can also do 15 different complex playlists.
Absolutely.
of my favorite Apple Music or whatever you use, Spotify or whatever you use.
Yep, absolutely.
So
the access is at your fingertips. You don't have to go to a music store, because we were limited to what we could have by the way we could acquire it.
The breakthrough that kind of opened it up for me when I look back is the microwave.
Absolutely.
That's, to be in everybody's household, and we're using, it's radioactive. And
you really didn't hear anything about them testing or introducing, where these laboratories are trying to work towards that. It was just bang. It was right there. Look at TVs.
Oh, TVs.
I mean, it's like you go from the bulbs, and then you go to the boards.
Right.
And now, the big TVs used to be this big. You had to have a huge cabinet. Now they're so flat that the screen itself is no thicker than a credit card. So how did that happen so fast? There's just so much technology so fast.
We've had an explosion of technology in the past 100 years. If you think 100 years ago, I mean,
jeez.
And if you go back 150 years, you were practically in the Dark Ages. And it's...
Think about planes.
Oh, God.
When they came out in the 1900s, and the progression that's gone through to the F-18s and technology we have for the sky.
And of course, big business plays a role in all that. Big business kind of, it holds the markets, it holds the money, it kind of points the trajectory of our intelligence and where our intelligence is going to go, because it all comes back to commerce and money. Well, and if we don't have commerce and money, you know what I mean? It's that's kind of everybody loves Bigfoot and loves UFOs and UAPs, but they also like to pay their bills and watch Netflix and all the fun things they do at nighttime.
Absolutely.
So, anyways.
And
we limit ourselves is kind of the point that I was making there. We kind of limit ourselves to what we know and what we want to know, because it seems to me, this wasn't the first major congressional hearing that we've had that came out where basically they tell us, UAPs, UFOs, the whole thing's real.
Well,
they had one last summer, and nobody really cares, because there's another season of their favorite thing coming out on their favorite streaming platform.
But the
So-
thing is that it's hard to have good oversight.
Right.
Because the way that the government works, you know, you have the Freedom of Information Act to be able to get stuff that's through government agencies.
Right.
But if you have a contract, the U.S. government has a contract with a private company.
Yeah.
That private company,
Sure.
there's no oversight, and they can't get the information out of them.
Right.
You know, because they're a private entity, and so there's no congressional oversight. So I think this is what, you know, is making our technology go so fast.
Right.
As far as, you know, in the air, in the water, in space.
Now, in comments, we had a lot of comments on the last episode, and that was wonderful. We love to interact with you folks and just get into conversation. I want everybody to drop their UFO stories. I want to hear them all. I want to know everything about, you know, the UAP,
Absolutely.
UFO you saw, even alien encounters, anything. I want to know it all. Just write it, and please feel free to just jump in there and educate us and educate the rest of the followers, the rest of the subscribers, as to what we're actually encountering and observing here.
And by, you know, voicing these encounters,
Yeah.
it helps us and it helps everybody else out to understand what's going on. And, you know, maybe people have these observations
Right.
that maybe other people haven't encountered.
Anyways, in the comments, everybody just help us connect the dots and, you know, give us your UFO story, your UAP story, your Bigfoot story, or just your opinion, your take on everything that we're discussing.
Absolutely.
And, you know, positive, negative, whatever. Just,
Let
we
us
want to hear
know.
about it.
Let us know what
Talk
you
to
see.
us.
If
Talk to
there's
us.
other things that you know about that you would like to, you know, comment and talk about, just let us know.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it next time. We'll put it in, you know?
Absolutely.
We'll make this work.
Absolutely.
All right, brother.
All right.